Oh, the cities, yeah.
Cities.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but like I was saying, people are people wherever you go. And whether or not they speak the same language as you or look the same as you, there's different cultures that I'm inspired by all cultures. I think that there's something really wonderful about traveling that, that everyone should, at one point in their life, try to do, even if you're, even if you feel like your life has too much structure, and, but at some point in your life, take a road trip, travel across the country, see this place, such a small, such a microcosm of what the world has to offer. But I feel like any time that you venture out and experience a new place, it enriches you, it makes you a stronger, more well-rounded, more understanding person. And I feel like, I'm blessed to have had the opportunities and have the opportunity that I do to travel and share my music with people.
Yeah. It's actually through your music that I got my nickname at the radio station, because it started because I wore your Santi hoodie all the time. And when I worked at a hip-hop station, Mike Jacks would always call me Debbie Santi. And so now it sticks with me, so that's what my boss calls me all the time. And everyone's like, what's your last name? I'm like, technically I'd have a Polish last name, but it's Santi.
Calls you Santi. That's awesome. That's cool.
It's awkward sometimes because people are like, well, isn't that your real last name? I'm like, no, because I'll sign it and I'll use my real last name, and they'll be like, that's not your real last name. It is.
Like, hey, Debbie Santi's my stage name, alright?
That's how I got it. Just stuck, and I'm like, it's been there for about like 4 or 5 years now.
Cool.
So I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm stuck with it.
I'm honored. That's awesome.
Speaking of that, how do you feel when fans tell you that your music's helped them with their lives? Like me being it helped me a lot too, as well as Joe. It's helped her too.
Thank you, guys. That's the most enriching thing for me. It's like the most rewarding thing to hear and to feel. I mean, that's why performing and to see the physical change in someone, just to see that someone else is affected by the music the same way that I am, or even if it's in a different way, or like a different interpretation of what a song means, it's still equally, impacting for me, because I grew up, pretty much just a black sheep in my school, and like I was essentially just, pretty much isolated as like, oh, it's that weird dude, or that, the singer guy, or the emo kid, or whatever it was. And I had to find a lot of strength in like small groups of friends, like very small groups of friends, like my closest friends.
Right.
And that's where I would find strength. I'd find strength in my own self-confidence because of what my friends did, and because of my conviction of who I was. It's like I was becoming who I was, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without music, without writing and performing it, and listening to it as a fan. And that connection between the listener and the artist, that happens in your room with your headphones on, with your lyric book out, or whatever, and you're listening to every word, and you're letting it take you somewhere else. I think it's an equal part escape and equal part coping mechanism. I don't want people to just listen to my music to escape the bad shit in their life. I want to help them escape it, but I also want to help people solve that shit in their life. Like, you can't control everything in your life, but there does come a point where you have to either accept or change something to make something else change.
Yeah, it's like, I know my friends hear about it a lot, but my ex, like, I was listening to The Test, and that's how bad our relationship got, and it got to the point when I was listening to it, I'm like, you know what, this is, like, not something I want to be in, because in the end, I didn't really know him, even though I knew him, and it was just horrible, like, so listening to that and, like, a lot of the stuff off there helped me get through him. Like, I have a lot of other music I listen to, too, but it would always come back to, like, listening to the Academy is, and, like, really relating to stuff and, like, getting through it and being like, oh, this is not what I want to be with. And it was horrible.
Yeah, for sure, thank you. And I mean, but yeah, that's it's not a good feeling, So I mean, for me, I have to get that out of my my mind and soul, you know, like I have to get rid of it, almost like expelling it. And that record particularly was a lot about expelling, you know, exercising my demons. And yeah, so, you know, that's why I really talk a lot about my past and a lot about what happened then. But the real focus on my music now is about the here and now, and about the future, and about who I am, and why, you know, and why I do what I do, as well as all the things that are still so confusing about relationships and about life, and still so challenging about them, you know. But I feel like there's always a way to persevere, whether or not it feels good along the way.
Right.
Things are gonna hurt. Things are gonna feel like crap. Things are gonna feel good. Things are gonna feel rewarding. Things are gonna feel like you failed. You're gonna feel like you succeeded. All these things are gonna happen over the course of a single year, you know. And that's what my music's about. It's about acknowledging those ups and downs, and giving you a little insight about how I deal with it.
Right. So since we went through all that deep stuff, let's bring it a little bit lighter.
Let's do it. I was going there with exercising the demons.
No problem.
All right, good.
It can be too dark all the time. We'll be like, man, now we're depressed. But what are your musical influences?
My musical influences are depressing. So let's just move on from here.
Okay. How about your favorite cover?
Favorite cover? It's hard to say because like I grew up not like when I started playing guitar and singing, I didn't learn a single song of someone else's. The moment I picked up a guitar, I started writing my own songs. So I never really learned a lot of music like other people's songs until you know, a few years ago when I really started to play a lot of covers. And I enjoyed it so much, just from a fan's point of view. That I've covered a lot of songs like from Just Like Heaven, you know, by The Cure, to Ask Me by The Smiths, and Come Pick Me Up by Ryan Adams. I'm actually recording that song, Come Pick Me Up, for a charity compilation that's being released later this year, but I just finished it up. And Karis Salamando, that's going to be on tour with me, is a guest vocalist on the song as well. So I'm really excited about that. It's a fun thing. Yeah.
So when did you start playing music?
Probably I think I was like 10 or 11. I started playing bass with my friend Andrew Curtis, who lived down the street. He played guitar, so we didn't really have a band, and I don't know why I started playing bass, probably because I thought it was the easiest, and it's not the easiest, but, well, it shouldn't be the easiest. It's an underutilized instrument in a lot of music, but once utilized properly, the bass can be a powerful machine.
Right.
But anyway, then I started playing drums when I was like 12, and I never sang, I started singing when I was probably like 15 years old, and I bought my first guitar, and that's when I started singing and writing my own songs. So that would explain how like I've just recently become a good singer, as opposed to like when I was 17, 18 years old, having just sung for a couple years. I listened back to those recordings of my early stuff, and yeah, it's hard for me to listen to it, but it's cool to see the growth and to see like how it's, you know, like where I came from and the kind of passion that I had early on. I mean, I didn't care that I sucked at singing. I was gonna sing the song, you know what I mean? Like, I was gonna get my words out regardless. So that's probably when it started, you know. I mean, I'd always loved music, but 15 is probably when it really took hold.
Right. So was music always something you were into in your life and you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to do it all my life. When I was young, I mean, I had like 8, you know, like every kid, you want to be 100 different things. And like, but I was the 6th grader that like wanted to be an architect, you know. I was a 6th grader, and I wanted to be an architect. And then I realized that math is just not fun.
It's not.
And granted, there are software programs that can do that for you now, but I'm a purist, you know, so I would want it all on paper, and like my equations written out, but no, like, from there, you know, I got really into golf at one point, and then I was really into pro wrestling at one point, no joke, and it's kind of a crazy story, but like my neighborhood friends, this is sort of like in middle school when I decided that I didn't want to smoke cigarettes after school with the cool kids and, you know, and like hang out with them anymore. Because I was uncomfortable. I was afraid of getting in trouble, you know. Like I didn't want to drink beers. Like, what's that, you know? So I hung out with like my pack of friends in my neighborhood that we called ourselves the Lucky Seven. And we loved pro wrestling. So I built like this little wrestling thing in the backyard. My stepdad thought I was out of my mind, but he let me do it for some reason. And, you know, we orchestrated, you know, what everyone's character was, if they were, you know, like a good guy or a bad guy. I would write all the storylines, and we like made our own belts and championships. We all had our own shtick, and like we had accents and, you know, basically everything that we see on TV, we did, except for like the good wrestling part. Like we couldn't wrestle, and we were not, like, I was a purist then about, you know, it being a technical, like doing it technically as opposed to the backyard brawlers with like the chairs and barbed wire and all that crap. We did not touch any of that stuff. Mostly because we were all wimps, and I didn't want to like, you know, cut my face or anything like that.
So did you have a wrestling name you went by?
Yeah, I had a few. Because we changed characters up, you know? One was Scott Skyscraper.
Wow.
Because I was so tall. I was the Sandman at one point. I was Bad Boy Bobby Douglas. And that was a part of a tag team. My brother Jeff Douglas.
Wow.
And we were the Lost Boys. That was our tag team, you know?
Sounds like you were having fun.
Yeah, we did. And then I realized that I would never pick up any chicks if I did that. So I stopped, and I started listening to The Cure a lot. And then the rest is history.
And then you're who you are now.
Yeah, it went overnight. It went from Scott the Skyscraper to
being a musician.
Yeah, to Bill E. Beckett.
So what's the worst job you had before being into music?
I worked, I mean, you have to understand that I started right out of high school, so like this is all I've been doing my whole life, from 17 on. But before that I worked at Jewel as a bagger, and I was really frustrated with the job because, like, you know, like people that were far less qualified or just not as good with people had the cashier job, you know. But then what I didn't realize then, as like a you know, an impatient little brat, was that you have to like establish yourself and like learn the ropes, and then you rise from the bottom. But I didn't have any patience for it, so I quit. And then I worked at the Gap while we were writing Almost Here, and I actually liked that job. And then there was a time before that, when I worked, like, my friend Johnny and I got this really weird warehouse job. And it was on the south side in this like warehouse district. We had to like clean out all these old receipts, you know, which I'm pretty sure was illegal, like getting rid of the old evidence, you know. But I didn't know anything about it. But we got paid like, you know, $15 an hour, which is crazy. But I'm pretty sure that with all the dust and all the weird, all the crazy hours, because it was super early too. We would get there like 4:30. And then go home at 2 in the afternoon and just sleep until the night.
It sounds horrible, like just the hours alone.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I mean, I don't complain because like we made good cash, and like also thinking about it now, it's like we still talk about those crazy jobs, and we're like delirious from working on such like menial, tedious work that like. We got weird. we definitely had some like imaginary friends happening during that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they good though?
Not that that's changed.
Well, you have to have someone to talk to when you're like by yourself. So would you consider yourself shy?
I don't think so. Do you think I'm shy?